And yeah, buddy, it's me from Kevin's Corner. I'm here to have a little discussion about some things that's going on around the country before the weekday starts. That's right, before you have to go back in to work and deal with nonsense. Then get off work and deal with more nonsense when it comes down to politics and stuff like that. So maybe you weren't expecting to see me today, and honestly, I wasn't expecting for you to see me today. But I got home from the Steelers game, and maybe I'm just a little excited because we won. But I said, let me go ahead and drop a live stream on them. It won't take that long, but it'll be right to the point. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we want to get to the bottom of this myth called Antifa. This myth, that's what it is, y'all. But before we can get to the bottom of that, I want to make sure I can get to the bottom of whether you can hear me and you can see me properly. So please let me know if you can hear me, first of all. Nope. So, all right. Working my home. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Says, hey, Kev. Now all I need is just the mic check. I'm good. Bam. So the mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. So let's go ahead and get into it. Oh, yeah. My chest like a real good. Real good. Real good. There's some things in the building. Gorillas in here. Gorillas in here. Gorillas in here. Gorillas in here. That's right, y'all. And don't forget, there's a Kevin's Corner store in here too, as well. You can go ahead and shop to your drop up in that bad boy to support the channel. Get all kind of merchandise, and that number on the screen, 330-974-4607, is the number you can text MAGA to, just in case they disappear me on this platform. I'll be able to connect with y'all. And then finally, if you want to support the channel in other ways, you can do it through my Cash App, my PayPal link, or through the super chat if they don't demonetize it. Okay, that's why I always let you know when you want to give to the super chat. It's a risk. If they demonetize this video for me saying hurtful things, then who knows where the money goes. But I don't know if they refund it to you guys or not, or just split it amongst themselves. Who knows? But anyway, I'm not here to just talk about those things. I'm here to talk about a myth, y'all. That's right. It's I guess a rumor going around. So maybe like, leprechauns, things like that. Myths. Unicorns. Maybe what's those things? It's mermaids. Myths. Yeah, we're out here trying to, be myth busters. We want to find out if these myths are true or not. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them out there. You got skinwalkers, you got dog men, and then you got Antifa. Don't forget the main one. My favorite one is Bigfoot. See, I'm on this quest to make sure I get to the bottom of all of these myths. Now I started off with Bigfoot. There's a lot of video footage out there that I'm like, okay, that looks obviously fake. That's a man in a full-blown furry suit. But then the other ones, I'm going, I don't know. That's pretty tough. It's pretty tough to fake throwing some branches that big. You know what I mean? I don't know. And then, I also saw all of these people dressed in black, mask on, helmets, goggles, all of these breathing apparatus, things like that, running around socking people, threatening people, throwing stuff at people, throwing Molotov cocktails at people, breaking windows, burning down stuff. And the word on the street is that's a myth too. But I seen it, y'all. I seen it right on TV. And I'm going, wait a minute. Are they a whole bunch of people just dressed up in costumes? Or those real people that have self-declared that they're part of this, I guess, myth called Antifa? So we want to go ahead and see if we can be mythbusters today, because according to creepy, sleepy, sleazy, slimy, sloppy Joe, it doesn't even exist. So Donald Trump has decided to crack down on a organization that have been running wild for years. And I remember back in the day when they first popped up on the scene with a raggedy lean, I was saying to myself, nobody's going to do anything about this? Are you kidding me? And it appeared to be organized but disorganized at the same time, to make it appear that, okay, it's hard to really get your hands on it, but it exists. It's kind of like water. You know it's there. You reach your hand in it, you grab it, but you can't get all of it. You're like, okay, it just went right through my fingers. It went right through my fingers. But I know it exists. You can't tell me that water don't exist. It's like air. Can't see it, but I know it's around me every time I go, yeah. So now, Antifa has been running wild for about 12 plus years, ever since Trump came on the scene. And I think his first 4 years, he identified them, but he really didn't have a tactic to how to deal with them. He didn't have the, infrastructure, the support of the folks in his cabinet to really target these dudes. He had a lot of rhinos, suggesting that he put certain people in place that was a part of all of that. They weren't trying to really weed out, target, and expose Antifa. Because see, most likely, Antifa is supported by a lot of people that support them as well. Got the same agenda. So we sat back and watched these folks run around for about 12 years unabated. And then the Democrats and the fake news got the nerve to try to gaslight us. Now, normally, when it comes down to these myths out there, people will try to convince you of the myth. When you watch these Bigfoot videos, they're like, look, you can obviously see, I was in my cabin. You can hear him outside. Look, he looked through my window. They're trying to convince you of the myth. But you got to be real suspect. When they tell you it's a lie, it doesn't exist, then why'd you record? Where's all that video footage? So now here you go. You get a perfect video of Bigfoot walking across talking about some, all right, now listen, tomorrow we got to go to the Capitol. I'll say it. I might go to jail for it, but I'll say it. You see Bigfoot with your own eyes out there talking about, I gotta go in there. And they're trying to say, that doesn't exist. That's not real. That's not what happened. Yeah. See, and you gotta go, well, wait a minute. Now I know I saw that. Normally, you would confirm it, but now all of a sudden you're trying to tell me, don't believe your lying eyes. So let's go ahead and start off with Creepy Sleepy, talking about it's a myth.
I'll tell you what, somebody's going to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing director. This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacist. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you get it.
There you go. By design. See, now we know it's really an organization, but the cover is that it's not really an organization. It's an idea, not an organization. How can you find an idea to be tangible? Unfortunately, when we say we are patriots and we believe in patriotism, they somehow collectively put us all in a group. For some reason, all those patriots, all those people who are the right-wingers, so we're not just an idea. Being a conservative, a right-wing conservative is not just an idea. Now all of a sudden, it's a group of folks, right? Maybe you could apply it to everything. How about white supremacy? It's an ideal. It's not a group of folks, but you're always calling a whole bunch of white folks white supremacists, white nationalists, and things like that. So, yeah, when it comes down to you guys labeling folks who you want to target and try to weed out or silence or persecute, then all of a sudden, it's no longer an ideal. It's a group. It's a group. But the difference between you guys, when y'all say these things, and us, is we get physical and visual evidence. Here you guys are out there talking about white supremacy is the greatest threat to the homeland. And I'm going around looking for these white supremacists. I'm trying to track down the white supremacists with the pamphlets and talking about, all right, there was a white supremacist. Here's some of our, beliefs. I'm trying to find meetings of these white nationalists. I'm trying to do all of that. I'm trying to find a church of white Christian nationalism. I don't see it on, the outside of the doors or anything. So these are things that the left is just slinging out there and saying they're all out there and this is just a group of them and all of that stuff. But then when it comes down to Antifa, we see them. We see their handiwork. We see what they do. And we're going to show you that day. We're going to go ahead and prove that this myth exists. So now, here's Joe Biden trying to convince us and Trump that it doesn't even exist. Now, why would Joe Biden feel the need to even say this? Why would he feel the need to even protect this radical left-wing group, along with many others?
Not malicious. That's what his FBI director said.
You mean the same FBI director, Raggedy Ray, and of course, if you're talking about Comey, all of them that was in on trying to set Trump up. You mean the same raggedy FBI director who was coming out talking about the greatest threat is the rise of white supremacy. That one. I mean, could it have been that he wanted to redirect all of the attention and blame and violence without proving or showing the violence, okay, on a group that he knew supports Trump, and then redirect the violence away from the group that supports the Democrats? Could it be that? Could it be that? Because, see, my thought is if white supremacy, white right-wing nationalism, right-wing violence is the greatest threat to the homeland, then we should be able to see stuff like what we're about to see right here. Ample evidence. That's what I was wondering. I was always thinking to myself, well, okay, I mean, I'm on the internet a lot, and I be finding a lot of videos of violence, but usually come from Black Lives Matter and the Antifa. Okay, can I find violence of white supremacy? Okay, got to go back to 1950. Got to go back to 1950, stuff like that, when the Democrats were doing exactly what they're doing now. But they just outsourced it. They've outsourced it to groups like Antifa. So now, that man just says, just an idea. That's all it is. Look at this idea. Oh, all up in those police officers' faces, those ICE agents' faces. Now, the new tactic, guys, for Antifa, because the heat is on them, is to dress up in these silly costumes to go out there to try to make it seem like, no, we're just being silly. We're just nice, peaceful protesters. And recently, underneath one of those costumes, one of the most notorious Antifians was discovered. Yeah, there you go. Same Antifian that said, yep, I'm just this, a mascot that is a, full-blown communist / anarchist, whatever. So they're not fooling us with their funny, furry costumes, okay? I don't know what kind of stuff they're into. And they think they're slick. They think they're slick. So now, here we have a lot of people out there with masks on. Some of them don't. And they're right in those ICE agents' faces, just having peaceful protesters. Now, why are they protesting towards ICE? I mean, do your cause, require you to get up in the face of police officers and do what we're about to see? That's my question. Look at that. Mostly peaceful. Get out of my state. Watch what he does. Uh-oh. There it is. Oh. There it is. Brought that on himself. Now, did y'all see that mythical spit that he just shot out there into that ICE officer's face? All that mythical spit. So now, that young man, along with many others, think they're untouchable. They've been out in Portland so long, wreaking havoc, okay? So much to where they think that we can just do whatever we want. Because guess what? For some reason, the administration out there refused to do anything about these people. That's my question. So now we got to ask questions. Not only are you not doing nothing about these people, but then you're denying that these people even exist. I'm starting to get concerned. I'm starting to formulate my own conspiracy theories. I'm starting to think to myself, why is it that you guys are ignoring acts like this every night, all up in these guys' faces? And then when you see all of these things, and when violence breaks out and all of that, and pepper spray and all of that stuff, instead of saying these are the agitators, these are the folks that's up there trying to get ICE to overreact, instead of saying that, y'all are saying ICE is being heavy-handed. Y'all are saying ICE is overstepping their boundaries. Trump just wants to send in the military. It's nonviolent. These people are peaceful. They're peaceful. Now, I don't know about you, but I won't be able to take a spit to the face. I ain't going to even lie to you. Yeah, at that point, everything's on the table. Yeah, see, I'm going to arrest you in the roughest way possible, okay? Yeah, you give me a slight of resistance, I'm taking that arm up into the chicken wing, the Bob Backlund chicken wing, where you're going to be able to see your hand, okay, on the side of your face. You don't want to take it all the way up there. You're going to, is that my hand over my shoulder? Any resistance. Spit is where folks draw the line. And that guy boldly just spit in that officer's face. And I wonder how long he's going to get in the slammer. Okay, hopefully a lot. But this is the type of peaceful protest that goes on out there in these liberal cities where they tell us that ICE is the heavy-handed ones. So look at that. Take them away, boys. Take them away.
Hey, Jim, you said this.
This is not Antifa. This is an entirely imaginary organization. There is not an Antifa.
Now, do y'all hear this propaganda? That this group Antifa is an imaginary organization. There's not an Antifa. Now, why are you talking about Antifa? Now, is it because Trump came out and talked about Antifa and said that we have to do something about them, and he labeled them as a domestic terrorist organization? Because, see, there could be only one of two reasons why the left is doing this. Either they're just taking the opposite of whatever Trump says and trying to make it seem like, you know what, Trump's always going over the top. He's just using this as an excuse to go against his protesters and the folks who disagrees with his policies. Or they're complicit. They know that Antifa is real, and they know that the heat is on them, and they're trying to make light of it. They're trying to make it seem like Trump's just exaggerating to make sure the population that is saying, who are these folks running around looking like raggedy, low-budget ninjas? Where are they getting this equipment from? How are they organizing? How are they mobilizing? All of these things. I'm starting to get concerned. This is an anarchist little group running. Oh, thank you, Jimmy Kimmel. You came out and told me it's just Trump being crazy again. For a minute there, I was thinking that these were radical anarchists in our cities burning down stuff. But thanks to Jimmy Kimmel and many others coming out telling me as a liberal bubblehead that Trump's just making it up. It's not even a real organization. So we're going to go ahead and have to test his statement. Here we go.
The network that you work for has plenty of articles on Antifa.
What?
Jim?
Oh.
What is Antifa? Antifa protesters showed up in Portland.
What?
There is a Antifa.organization website, Jim.
Oh, these guys didn't do the research on these things. I mean, this is coming from the ABC and stuff like that. They were covering this myth. Yeah, they were out there covering the myth, yo. I mean, now you would think they'd be out there just some regular people. Why are they even using the term Antifa? Isn't that crazy? But we just heard Jimmy Kimmel, who was mad because his show got taken off for him lying, come out and lie again, talking about Antifa as a myth. It's a myth. But yet, look at all of this mythology right there on their website.
Antifa handbook on Amazon.
They got themselves a handbook on Amazon about mythology. Is that what it's about? We do not exist. As you read this handbook, there's no words in it because we don't even exist. So they got themselves a handbook, and you're telling me these dumb people that we're about to witness trying to lie to us and tell us that Antifa doesn't exist and it's not real. They didn't stop for a second to put all this together. So for any of the dummies out there that might want to believe this and think that it's just Trump making stuff up, I'm here to help you. I'm here to show you proof that this group really exists. I'm not going to do you like these folks gaslighting you, telling you it's just a myth. Now, we want to prove that these mythical creatures out there called Antifians really do exist.
Antifa out there in the streets.
Well, look at that. Yeah, for some reason, some large groups of people who all came down there organically, all happened to be dressed the same way, all happen to have masks on, all decided, you know what we should all do? We should all group up. How'd you get that red flag? Just like mine. Just like mine. That's crazy. Man, you know what? Like minds think a lot. Oh, what? Somebody decided to put together a big banner, labeling all of these folks Antifa. Now, I don't know about you, but if I wasn't a part of Antifa, I wouldn't be marching behind that banner with all of them. See, I mean, if you go out there and you print a big banner called Democrat politicians or Democrat voters and you start marching down the street, I'm going to run away from that bad boy. I'm not going to be in it because I don't want folks to associate me with a Democrat. But there they are. They're all marching behind the same banner. They're dressed alike with the flags and stuff like that. But don't forget, though, this is just a myth. But we're starting to get more evidence that maybe Antifa is real.
Antifa members.
Well, look at that. How in the world did all these individuals just randomly pick the same wording, the same type of outfit, the same type of, messaging on their outfits? Isn't this crazy? What a coincidence. or could it be a group? This would be like saying the Crips and the Bloods. It's just a myth. That's just an idea. It's just a whole bunch of guys hanging out randomly with red bandanas and stuff like that. But what you doing with that red bandana, man? I just woke up today, man. Like, yo, I feel like rocking a red bandana. Me too. Yeah, what? Well, you got one too, Rollo? Yeah, I got one too. Next, you know, you see 50 of them, all red bandanas somehow, and you got to conclude that maybe they're part of the Bloods. Maybe they're part of the Bloods. But the Democrats in the media wants us to believe this is a myth. They want to go ahead and question our intelligence. Look at that. Look at these myths right here, all dressed the same way.
Antifa flag. That's interesting.
Why would you go out and print a flag for nothing? Just for an idea. That's crazy, isn't it? So let's hear from some folks who claim they had first-hand knowledge and interaction with Antifa. Just like Bigfoot. You know what I'm saying? People are like, I was out there in my tent and I heard something rustling outside the tent. That was eating a can of pork and beans. And I said, shoot. So now, here we go. These are some first-hand witnesses.
The ultimate goal is to destroy the United States.
What?
Antifa as a movement is anarchist communism.
Anarchist communism. Now, back in the day, yeah, we would stomp them out. A group of communists start to pop up in the United States, and the feds were all over. They'd be like, we won't even tolerate just a potential symptom of communism, let alone anarchists. They don't even want to bring just communism. See, these folks want to burn it all down. They want to tear it all down. They're not trying to reorganize it, bring up make something else and this and that. They're trying to tear it all down. Now understand, this is the symbiotic relationship between the Democrats, the radical left, and Antifa. See, Antifa don't want to just, create a one world government or be a part of globalism. They think that, you know what, we're being allowed to tear down the system because of all of the white supremacy, all of the, occupation of these lands and all of that, and because the patriarchal system and because of all of this stuff. Yeah, the Democrats are allowing us to tear it down. But see, they don't realize the Democrats are like a parasite that feed off of some other host. They're like, yeah, tear it down. Yeah. See, we need you to tear it down so we can build it back up in our image. But y'all think you're just there to tear it down and leave it in rubble. Okay. After we get finished allowing you to construct society, harass folks, tear it down, and all of that stuff, then we can go ahead and build it up into whatever we want it to be, and then you're no longer needed. We don't want you guys being anarchists under our regime. So these folks, either way, they're going to have it coming. Nobody wants folks tearing down stuff, afterwards, after you get it the way you want it. See, so right now, it's important for them to use, these darn Antifians to harass the right, attack and disrupt agencies that's trying to suppress the Democrats' goal and agenda when it comes down to certain stuff. Harass and intimidate society, break the will of society to where society says, man, we've been dealing with these folks showing up every single night screaming. We've been dealing with these folks sitting out in front of all of the traffic, making sure they block everything. We've been dealing with Molotov cocktails. We've been dealing with them dragging us out of our cars. We've been dealing with them getting all in our face, talking about, get out of here, shame. We've been dealing with all of that. How about we just go ahead and submit to the radicals? How about we go ahead and say, leave them be. Let them have their way. What do you want us to do? How do you want us to vote? Yeah, so right now, Antifa is being used like useful idiots. And that is why the Democrats won't touch them. But see, they can't just get out there and do this on their own without financing, without money, dinero. Yeah, so where's the money coming from? How are they able to mobilize and show up out of nowhere in big numbers when something goes down? Isn't that crazy? So now we might be able to get to the end of this. Let this guy right here who has firsthand witness from Antifa beating him talk to us about what their real goal and agenda is.
Like, people sometimes have just simply branded them as communists. That's not the full picture.
The reality is that it was an extreme.
There are communists in Antifa, but they're more so, the majority of them are anarchists and anarchist communists.
Oh.
And so the violence is done essentially out of nihilism. And that's why there's such brutality in it. Setting buildings on fire when people are inside, or in the case of in June, the ICE facility, trying to lock and barricade the doors on the ICE facility and set it on fire when
And set it on fire. But remember though, they were saying these things were mostly peaceful protesters. I just saw a group of them harassing an old lady walking across the street, calling her a fascist, calling her a Nazi. I mean, she had to be about 90 years old. And they were all in her face, you Nazi, get out of here. And I'm going, see? So let me understand. You can't be protesters because nobody likes that type of protesting. Nobody wants to see the image of you guys all in the face of old people. Folks ain't got nothing to do with anything, but you just hate them for no reason. You're yelling at them, you're calling them all kind of names, you're threatening them and all of that stuff. And I'm going, what's the message here? I'm trying to understand. Your protests, I can't get a grip on it because it just seems like it's a bunch of chaos. It seems like you guys are just growling and screaming and trying to intimidate people. And I'm starting to, wonder whether you're here to protest or you're just here to cause havoc. Yeah. And then the other question is, well, why do you always protest like late at night? Why do you guys don't want people videotaping or watching you guys do your protests? Because normally you go out there bold and proud. You want people to see what you stand for. I might hand out some pamphlets talking about, all right, this is what we believe in. But for some reason, y'all don't like that. People show up, reporters and stuff, and they get beat. They get threatened. So now why is it that not only are you guys violent, loud, rude, intimidating, but you also like to operate in silence and in darkness? Interesting.
there are people inside. These type of brutal, cruel, subhuman type of acts of violence. And their motto is become ungovernable. Mm-hmm. So they want to destroy not just the US as a nation, but they don't want necessarily replace it with like a communist regime.
So they want to live like cannibals. They want to live like animals. That's what it is. See, and that right there is a recipe for extinction. Yeah. Not only extinction of mankind, because when you tear it all down, then somebody got to rise up and rule. I mean, how you going to function? See, all of these dumb bubbleheads who think they're just tearing down the system, you know, the architectural system, the white supremacy, all of that, they can't feed themselves. Yeah, these folks don't know how to plant and start stuff and, you know, jumpstart an economy. Yeah, you think these folks, if they tore it down, they're going to, you know, live harmoniously, they're going to resurrect something? Or should we all just live like, you know, straight up animals? You know, start slapping people over the head, taking their stuff, because that's what these folks are doing right now. They don't realize that, wait a minute, if we tear it all down, then what? I mean, right now, I got to go home right now to my mom. I ain't even got no place to live right now. See, and that's why they're out there doing this, because they don't have anything. If you had something, you wouldn't want to tear stuff down. If you were able to appreciate how America is the greatest system going and have ever existed, you would be going, how can I benefit off of it versus tear it down? But when you have nothing and you bought into the belief that everybody has something except you, and it's because they're making sure you don't get anything, then you want to tear it down and have no plan whatsoever of, well, okay, I thought we're done with that now. Everything's torn down. So okay, I guess everybody goes home now. No, it will keep going because, see, these folks are 100% committed to just chaos and destruction. So now, not only would that be self-destructive eventually with this philosophy, but it's also going to be destructive before that, because if you got a real leader like Trump and this current administration, and they realize this group exists and this group has a goal and agenda to do this, and they're backed by folks that don't have good intentions for America. We got to stop this group by any means necessary. We got to expose this group and not only deal with them, but we got to go after the people who are supporting them. So let's continue hearing from this guy.
They want to destroy everything, all the institutions, the concept of nation states.
Antifa beats journalists. Antifa attacks our police stations.
No way.
They attack our courthouses. What? They dox our law enforcement officers. No more. They are a terrorist group, and we are coming after them.
Y'all hear this? The conspiracy theorists, I guess, out here talking about this myth exists. I mean, what do you mean, Pam? Why are we going after the myth? That's like saying we're going after dust that we're going after oxygen, because it doesn't exist. And we're about to find out from a whole bunch of folks out there that is making it their mission to make folks believe that it doesn't exist.
We are here at the White House today to unmask Antifa, to follow the money all the way to the top. If you want to get to the bottom of who is fomenting this chaos and violence in our country, you must follow the money.
Show me the money. Now you're getting to the nitty gritty. Now you're starting to think like Kev from Kevin's Corner. Because see, when I sit back over the years, watching all of this chaos take place in all of these different S-hole ran Democrat cities, all I could think of is nobody can stop this. You're telling me you can't find out who's supplying a U-Haul of riot gear? You can't get the license plate off of that U-Haul and say, wait a minute, who rented the U-Haul? I mean, who bought all of the shields? Who bought all of the helmets? Who bought all of that stuff? You mean to tell me you can't get to the bottom of how a big pallet of bricks just randomly shows up in a place where they start using those bricks to start breaking windows and tearing up stuff? You couldn't get to the bottom of that? You're telling me you can't get to the bottom of big fat buses pulling up? Nobody knows who leased the bus, rented the bus, and it's no, you can't get to the bottom of that. See, and as I watch that, I'm saying, okay, either our FBI is really incompetent or they're incompetent on purpose. See where I'm going with this? On purpose. Or just like we're about to find out, all of these people are ignorant on purpose. All of these Democrats who say it doesn't exist, you're being willfully ignorant. So now these people are saying, yeah, get to the bottom of it. Let's go up that trail so we can see where the money's come from. Now, when you start doing that, now you start seeing Antifa dissipate. Because you think they're going to be doing that without no support? How are these people going to eat? I mean, how are these people going to pay for their own travel? How are these people going to pay for their own gear? And when you start looking at these organizations that are supporting them, and you say, we're going to hit you with a RICO charge. We're going to hit you with supporting terrorism on our land and stuff like that. That's when they start going, uh-oh, we got to cut ties. The heat is on us. The jig is up. Lest we be deemed as a international terrorist group supporting one on our homeland. So now let's continue.
I was a mainstream reporter in Seattle for 10 years before I quit mainstream media, in part due to its refusal to acknowledge the dangers of Antifa and radical left-wing violence.
Part of the problem that we have is that a lot of people refuse to believe that Antifa is real. It is just a made-up thing, but I have seen them. They are real, they are dangerous, and they are violent.
Now you hear all of these people out here trying to tell us that Bigfoot exists. Yeah, I seen a leprechaun. I'm telling you, they're real and stuff like that. Because see, the liberal media thinks these people are making it up. I mean, somehow the black eyes that some of them got, yeah, they did it to themselves. They did it to themselves. Some of these folks, like the lady who just got a black eye a couple of days ago, or even the one guy who was pushed down and he was assaulted and went and told the police, and they arrested him. They arrested him out there, talking about, why are you doing that to yourself? Out there starting trouble with things that don't even exist. Wow. So now we're getting firsthand, accounts of the realism of Antifa.
They're an organized, systemic, international criminal enterprise. And what the FBI is going to do is trace the money, follow the funds, and find every single person that was involved in funding the riots and the violent acts of criminality that they're perpetrating on our street.
Ooh, the heat is on. Now, rumor has it that 3 big-time Antifians done fled the country for no reason. One is a husband-wife couple. They fled the country. And then somebody else fled the country. I'm wondering, why are you leaving? What are you talking about? It's just an idea. I mean, how are they going to connect you to an idea? Why are you leaving if you're not guilty? Interesting. But nobody on the left is explaining to us why. They're not telling us, wait a minute, why are all these folks right here that ain't got no reason to leave, fleeing the country when they find out the feds is coming after them? Here's another person that's trying to give us some type of conspiracy theory about these mythical Antifians.
I've watched Antifa brutally beat, harass, and threaten Americans in the street, but all of that ends with the Trump administration.
Oh, shit.
I was brutally attacked and almost killed by Antifa in the streets of Seattle. All of my colleagues have been attacked. I can't think of a single one who hasn't.
What?
Violence against journalists and police officers in our streets can't stand.
Wow. Now you hear all these people starting rumors, saying bad things about this mythical organization, saying bad things about all of these individuals that are not connected at all. not connected at all, but just have a hive mind. They all think the same. They all have the same philosophy. They all have the same beliefs. And they all seem to allow those philosophies and beliefs to bring them together all at once, every night. And they all move and operate the same way. They all have the same clothing, same gear, same tactics. Isn't that odd how these people are bad-mouthing all of these folks that just happen to have the same beliefs and stuff like that?
Just days ago, I was in the Portland jailhouse, and now I'm in the White House. This administration is built different, and Antifa's days are numbered.
Wow. Now, you would think that anybody in the media or the Democrats would support this and say, well, you know what? If this group that you're talking about is real, then we got to do something about it. Why would any lawmaker have a problem with this, especially after looking at this lady right here with this shiner? Y'all see that shiner right there? That's not eyeliner and eyeshadow. No, that right there is a black eye. Yep, that I watched her get from an Antifian that walked away while a cop followed them and was scared to touch him. Excuse me, ma'am, can I talk to you? Get off me. And he let her go. Let her go. Interesting. Out there in Portland for some reason. So now, look at this lady who gave herself a black eye, I'm sure.
I want to thank President Donald Trump for designating Antifa a terrorist organization, and I'm looking forward to the FBI and the DOJ hunting down these people like the terrorists that they are.
All I gotta say, it's a bad day to be Antifa. And Antifa's days of using violence and intimidation against their political opposition are over.
And I've continued to report on them over the years despite the threats of violence and actual violence that's happened, because I owe a thank you to this country, the United States, for settling my parents who were victims of communism in Vietnam.
1 month ago, Charlie Kirk was murdered by a violent leftist. We all saw it, and we all saw thousands of leftists celebrate it. Antifa symbols were found on the bullet casings of the gun used to shoot and kill my friend.
Now, why is it that they're leaving the signatures and things like that all over the place? See, I'm starting to wonder about all of these individuals who happen to just think the same way. And they'll write Antifa on the side of buildings and things like that. I'm really starting to wonder how these individuals are able to function like this. And why are they choosing to do this and choosing to say this or identify with this idea? Don't they know they're giving the ideal a bad name by carving Antifa on the side of bullets and things like that? Don't they know that? And the Democrats know that too. And that is why, for some reason, I'm shocked that they won't say, yeah, Antifa is bad. Now, the only time Democrats come out and they either defend something or they try to downplay something is when that something could be connected to them. If that something is something they've been benefiting off of, and all of a sudden somebody start barking up the wrong tree, somebody starts sniffing around it and going, oh, wait a minute, let me look into this. All of a sudden the Democrats come out and it's in the media out there to say, don't look at that, don't interpret it this way, don't believe Donald Trump and them, because for some reason, Donald Trump's organization was sitting around and they say, you know what we should do? We should invent this idea that there's a group of folks running around terrorizing Americans, burning down stuff, tearing up stuff, intimidating people called Antifa, even though it's not real. So let's come up with this and then spend time and put resources into trying to go after something that doesn't even exist. Or could it be that Donald Trump and them would prefer to go about their business, making sure America's safe, making sure illegal immigration is taken care of, making sure our trade agreements are great, making sure all of these other things are fine. They'd rather go about that. However, Antifa keeps popping up on the radar. So now every time it pops up, they go, wait, this Antifa stuff keeps popping up. So Trump's not making it up. Yeah, these folks aren't making it up. I'm not making it up. We've been watching them pop up on that radar for about 12 years now. But they want us to believe that Trump and them just making stuff up, making it up. Just like they try to do with every other issue that we discover the Democrats are behind. They always say that we're just doing this because we're mean. We're doing this because we're coming after stuff. We're doing it. And I'm going, no, these are things that pop up because of you guys. And then when we say we got to deal with it, then you send the media out there to do what we're about to watch.
We won't take it anymore. President Trump is not going to stand for it.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that we have a leader in the White House that understands how we need to fight these sophisticated networks and how we need to take these terrorists out.
Okay.
I've been attacked by Antifa, doxxed by Antifa, harassed by Antifa, but we're not standing down. We're now coming for you.
Coming for you. Now, a lot of those folks were minorities. Yeah. But for some reason, though, we're about to see the biggest effort of gaslighting ever, perhaps. Now, that's saying a lot. So here we go.
There's no Antifa. This is an entirely imaginary organization. There is not an Antifa.
Like, I don't even know what Antifa is. There is no group.
It's not even like far-right groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. Compared to right-wing extremists, Antifa-linked violence is rare and limited.
Can you believe what you're seeing right here? If you ever wanted to know who the fake networks and news works for and who they support. Now, my question is, why are they all running interference for Antifa? Because they know Antifa is connected to the Democrat Party. They know Antifa is a downstream of the Democrats and their foot soldiers to keep a whole bunch of harassment and destabilization going on in areas. They know that. And they also know that if you start going up that rabbit trail, you might get to some Democrat donors. You might end up finding yourself at the doorstep of Soros. You might find yourself at the doorstep of Act Blue. You might find yourself at the doorstep of a foreign country that's supposed to be our ally, but they're donating money to destabilize our country. You might find yourself there. So now we got to go out there and block that. We got to go out there and try to focus on the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. And I'm thinking, where's all the video footage of the Proud Boys doing stuff like this? Where's all the video footage of the Oath Keepers going out day after day, night after night, burning down stuff, attacking police officers? Where's that footage? So here she is, the Oath Keeper. Now notice the redirection. Don't look at Antifa. They're not even real. Look at the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys.
It isn't an organization. It is in many ways mythology.
It's not like the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers.
That keeps popping up. Isn't that odd? How they all somehow keep saying it's not like the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers. And I'm saying you're right. Because I don't see the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers going out doing this. Unnecessary violence. Just random violence. Don't even ask questions of people like, what do you believe in? They just see a person accidentally walking home a little too close to where they all are starting their chaos, and that person becomes a victim. Okay, so now here they are trying to defer towards the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, and I'm sure they're going to try to tie that to J6, and I'm saying it's not working. It's not working. We got too much footage of Antifa doing work. So let's continue hearing them go ahead. And for some reason, try to make us not believe in this this mythical creature called Antifa.
You know, sort of defined terrorist organizations with leadership that leads violence.
It's not a highly organized movement. It's a moniker. It's not a unified group like the Proud Boys are.
See?
Things like Antifa are things that are thought up.
It's all in this guy.
Thought up. I mean, can you believe these people? It's almost offensive and insulting to watch it. I'm sitting there going, are you kidding? This is the biggest obvious attempt to whitewash Antifa and to run interference for them. My question becomes, why? Why are you people even concerned? You shouldn't even care about Antifa. If Trump would have came out and said, I'm going after the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, you think they would be talking about, they don't even exist. I don't even know why Trump is coming. They'd be going, that's right, go after them. So now, instead of even investigating whether Antifa's real, or showing the evidence that I showed you in the beginning and I'm about to show you, these folks just come out with this narrative that it doesn't even exist. It's just an idea. Now you got to ask yourself, why? Here you got the opportunity to be famous. You got the best video footage and quality of Bigfoot ever. Here you got Bigfoot sipping out of a canteen, some hot tea, his legs crossed with those big feet up, and you come out of your tent and, oh, Bigfoot! Yeah, what's happening? What? You real? Absolutely. You mind if I do an interview with you? Sure. Fire up the camera. And you go to work, you got all the footage you got, and all of a sudden, you're not real. You don't want to become famous? You got all the footage right there, but you decide to rather not say, no, I don't know about that. You got proof that these guys are real, but now y'all saying it doesn't even exist.
Eyes of going after Antifa, which is nothing. There's no organization called Antifa.
Nobody's a member of Antifa because it doesn't exist. They are just declaring into existence something that doesn't exist.
Wow. Professional propagandists and liars. Unbelievable. They just are bringing it out there, just throwing it out there in the ether, something that doesn't even exist. Once again, it goes right back to the logic of then how in the world are all these people on one accord? How in the world? Now, you take, for example, the rally that took place on J6. Now, we had anarchists and stuff over there before Trump even dismissed the real patriots, okay? And I think maybe some of those Antifians that didn't show up to harass the MAGA, Republicans might have been dressed up as MAGA Republicans, over there to start it going, get it going, along with the feds, along with all those feds that was mixed in there too. However, it took Trump saying, all right, everybody, now that we're done, go over and let your voices peacefully heard. Thus, you get a whole bunch of folks who are all on one accord because somebody messaged them, told them, look, here's what we're doing, here's where we're going and stuff like that. But you want us to believe that all of these Antifians are all just randomly coming together every night without nobody coordinating them, no common goals and agenda, coordinate outfits, gear, stuff like that. That's what these people got the nerve to be getting out there trying to convince us of. And they're having a hard time with it right now. I'm not buying this crap right here. Let's finish watching these politicians and media people lie to our face.
There is no Antifa organization.
Wow, this is a politician who should be trying to sniff out any anarchist, anarcho, there, I want to keep saying anarcho tyranny, anarchists in our cities and in our states. He should be saying, yo, stump it out. If we got folks running around like raggedy ninjas, harassing folks, get them. But instead, what does he do? He goes ahead and he just runs interference for them. There's no Antifa.
So maybe that's good for social media, but it really is non-existent.
They exist on the internet in chat rooms and in 4chan and Discord and places like that where they run discussion boards, trade tactics, documents, things like that. But none of them are called Antifa.
Wow. Now, do you see how evil these people are? You also see, though, that these folks are all in on it. Whether they know that Antifa is being used by very powerful people in our society that enables them and allows them to function like that so they can, do their bidding, or whether they're like Joey Behar, who's just dumb enough to take the narrative and vomit it back out there to the public. Yeah, she don't know that Antifa's really a pawn of, the Democrats, a pawn of these globalists. She don't know it. She's just listening to these dummies tell her that Antifa doesn't exist. It's just an idea. Plus, all it really means is, against we're anti-fascists. That's all it means. That's all it means. So she's the low end of the propagandists because she don't really know what's going on. These are the professional ones. These are the high-end ones, like this lady.
Trump's Secretary of Homeland Security actually took that further.
This network of Antifa is just as sophisticated as MS-13, as TDA, as ISIS, as Hezbollah, as Hamas, as all of them. Mm-hmm. They are just as dangerous.
That's pretty incredible, right? Hamas has just been engaged in a 2-year war that we just announced the first stage of a peace plan to.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible because Hamas has been engaged at 2. But, well, you know what? Antifa has been engaged in a 12-year war on our cities. See, that's what this lady don't realize. Yeah, they've been occupying so many cities in America. And you're talking about that Hamas has been out there. And Antifa's been burning down stuff for a long time. They tried to burn police officers and law enforcement in buildings and stuff like that. Don't forget that. Don't forget all the deaths and the property damage that Antifa has caused. And here you're talking about, that's interesting. So you want to go ahead and make it seem like what Christy Nones was saying is such an exaggeration. Here she is trying to compare this little teeny idea that really don't exist to these big organizations. And I'm saying Antifa got some longevity behind them. They've been in business for about 12 years, but you didn't recognize them.
A few moments ago. And ISIS, these are incredible things to say. And
yeah, it is. And just like we had to get rid of ISIS we got to go ahead and stomp out Antifa too. And y'all don't want that. Y'all like, then what we gonna do? Then who are we gonna send out to do the crazy stuff that we keep denying is happening? Then who are we gonna have that is dumb enough and insane enough to get all dressed up, put on masks, and go out every night and stand in front of ICE talking and crazy and spitting at them and doing that? Who are we gonna do? We're not going to have enough folks that'll do that all on their own without some type of organized effort to make that happen. And they know it. They know that we tear down Antifa. They're all on their own when it comes down to the crazy protesters. So let's continue. Here we go, because she's going to go ahead and try to run interference just like the rest of them did.
And obviously, I'm not going to sit here and defend anybody who considers themselves part of an Antifa movement, such that it is.
Ah, so now you got to slide in your little disclaimer, such that it is, but I'm about to downplay the heck out of it. That's what I'm about to do. I'm about to downplay the heck out of it. I got to go ahead and slide the disclaimer, like if there is a such thing as Antifa. Obviously, I wouldn't support that, but however.
But such that it is the operative part of that sentence. Antifa is far from a major sophisticated terror organization like Hezbollah, Hamas, or ISIS. In fact, it's not even like far-right groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers.
There it is. You got that talking message, that point right there. Don't forget to mention it's not like the Proud Boys and it's not like the Oath Keepers. Remember. So when you're going ahead and you're trying to gaslight your audience, you use one group of examples to show how over the top the Trump comparison is. The Trump administration comparison is, okay? Then use the other example to show that Antifa, they're definitely not like ISIS and stuff, but they're not even like groups like the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. Now I want her to tell me though, what has the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys have done to where Antifa is not even on that level? And she's right. It's way above that level. But here she is. Because in her mind, I'm sure she's referring to J6 that almost overthrew our democracy.
Which have had national leaders, unlike Antifa. There is no organized hierarchy.
Yeah, they have national leaders like Antifa because they're not a shadowy organization that's being funneled money by all of these NGOs and these globalists. See, the Proud Boys and all of them are like, all right, we're going to start it the traditional way. Let's go ahead and say we're the Proud Boys. I'm going to be the leader. We're not trying to hide nothing. We're not trying to cover our faces. We're not showing up in gas masks. We're not doing that. And yet here she is trying to say they're not even like them because, and you're making my point. You're trying to, remain ambiguous so that nobody can get their hands on you. Because see, if you start showing leadership, then we can pick them people off and go ahead and find out who's responsible for this. But we're still going to do that anyway, though.
Group. And according to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, compared to right-wing extremists, Antifa-linked violence is rare and limited.
Wow. So you go out and find some liberal study. I need you to come up with some fake data, all right, to make it look like Antifa that has very small, limited violence, according to the right wing. And they say these things, and I'm wondering to myself, could it be that you're not recording all the Antifa violence? Could it be that? Even the guy out in Portland that was shot because he was a Trump supporter, they didn't even list that as left-wing violence. That man yelled out, "We got us a Trump supporter over here." Bang, bang. And then you go and look up left-wing violence, and that's nowhere near that. It's not even in it. And yet, I'm wondering, what now goes into right-wing violence? The two white guys, a white guy and a black guy, was fighting, and because it was white and black fighting, that had to be white supremacy and right-wing violence. Could it have just been the white guy and a black guy had a disagreement, got into a fight? But nonetheless, here she is doing her job, earning that prostitution money. So let's continue.
Because if there really is no Antifa as an institutional organization, then anybody who's associated with Antifa-like ideas, can be persecuted.
Now you hear Keith Ellison. He's supposed to be the district attorney over Portland and all of that, Oregon, or wherever he's out. I mean, at Boston, so I forget. Well, he's out there in Portland, I think. Now, this guy right here, the one who beat up his girlfriend, don't forget that. Don't forget that. Smacked her around a little bit because she wouldn't take out the trash. All right. This guy who's supposed to be the top cop and have his ear to the street and be able to say, now, wait a minute. We definitely know that there is something going on with Antifa. Now, this man is trying to say Trump can't go after no idea. How you gonna prove that? He's working hard to make sure that Antifa don't get attacked by Trump, and that Antifa ain't revealed and exposed by Trump. He's making sure that he laid the groundwork for an escape. Now listen to this guy. He should be saying, well, if there's such a thing, show me the evidence. Let's go after him. Let's go after him. But instead, what does he do? Come out talking about something. Well, if you go out, how you going to prove it? How you going to prove that they really are Antifa? How you going to just prove that they're not just, well, let's see.
All you have to do is say, prove you're not Antifa. Well, how can you prove a negative? And suddenly they're just going to be able to use that to justify suppressing speech, arresting people.
Now you see how they structured Antifa? You see that? They think we don't see it. Yeah, y'all set it up that way for a reason. Yeah, you wanted to make sure that it couldn't be traced back to a particular person or organization. But now we're figuring out ways to do that. And you're concerned. Yeah, once again, instead of siding with law and order, for some reason, these folks are defaulting to protect the criminals. They're defaulting. So now you got to ask yourself, why are you defaulting to immediately downplaying Antifa's existence and protecting them? Why are you defaulting to that? Now, once you got two options, simply because it's Trump saying that we're going to do this and go after these people, or could it be that you are using Antifa for your bidding, and also Antifa is supported by folks who support you guys, and you're trying to make sure you run cover? Because if you get your hands on Antifa and the right folks in Antifa, then you'll also be able to work your way up to maybe some Democrat donors. Maybe we'll take back that medal that they gave to the Soros family under Biden. Maybe we might go back and get that. Who knows? So here's Keith Ellison, supposed to be the top cop, but he's going down. No, leave Antifa alone. They don't even exist.
Deploying ICE, deploying National Guard, deploying military. So the fact that there is no, nobody even knows what it is.
No, now you see this crap. Man, they make me mad. These are corrupt people. Nobody even knows what it is. They think we're stupid. They really think we're stupid. See, so you want to keep your minions on the streets, tearing up your cities and stuff, harassing ICE, and so therefore you want to pretend you don't even know what it is. You don't even know. Now, how is it that everybody else knows what it is? How is it that I knew what it was 12 years ago? Well, we're about to find out how I knew. See, because this guy apparently don't know. He don't know. Now, got to understand, this is right now. This is like current. Now that the Trump administration then came out and said, oh, we're going to go after Antifa. This guy's pretending and nobody knows what it is. So we're going to have to take Keith Ellison back in time because I shouldn't know more than him.
The first person I ever heard use the word Antifa was Donald J. Trump when he was going on about how there were good people on both sides in Charlottesville.
Now, see, he's able to get away with this because he's sitting on a set with sweet cheeks, tight knees, no face, with that smirk. And Stoney Jackson with that big fat afro up there, very gentle with no face. Could you come on and run interference for Antifa? We gonna bring you on and let you just say stupid, crazy stuff to gaslight our audience. That's what we gonna do.
That's the first time I ever heard anyone use the term.
First time.
So now it's this amorphous thing, and if nobody's really Antifa, then everybody could be.
Yeah. If nobody's Antifa, then everybody. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? Oh, shoot. That's him back in the day. What is that? A handbook? What? How did he get that? He got the Antifa thing on, what's that, pamphlet? And he said in that pamphlet, what that pamphlet say at the top? See, they always forget they need all kind of evidence. Okay, I got to read this backwards. Okay, and I just found the book that strikes fear in the heart of @real Donald Trump. Now, wait a minute. What is that book? What is that book? How to peacefully protest in our country? How to, abide by law and order? What is that book? Oh, snap. Look at that. I don't even know what it is. Doesn't even exist. What? Crazy. First time I heard about it. So you didn't read the pamphlet? You didn't read the pamphlet, but you're coming out talking about this is going to instill fear in the law and Donald Trump and stuff. So let's continue because, see, we got to help these people out. They're all telling us that Antifa does not exist. It's not real. Trump's making it up. So we're going to go ahead and take them back to the days when they actually went ahead and showed evidence that Antifa was real.
At most accounts, almost all of the people protesting against the hateful bigots, the Nazis and Klansmen in Charlottesville, were peaceful, but not all.
Now, y'all remember? Keith Ellison just said it. He said, we ain't hear nothing about this stuff until Trump brought it up during, back in the day when Charlottesville was going on. And then the same network that we just heard telling us, it's not real, it doesn't exist. I actually did a story on it.
Oh, in their midst was a sometimes very violent group of protesters that call themselves Antifa. No.
Very violent? Called what? What did you just call them? Huh? Fake crapper? What? Did they forget that they covered this? Now, isn't this crazy? Very violent group called Antifa. They call themselves that. Now, wait a minute. How are they a group when they're all just individuals? That's my question. How are they a group when they're just a myth?
They call themselves Antifa, known to not only clash with bigots, but also sometimes with police and occasionally storefronts. At least 2 journalists in Virginia were assaulted by violent counter-protesters over the weekend, including this cameraman from the Richmond CBS affiliate.
Wow! How are they going to explain this? This thing that they always do it. They always leave evidence, and then when they need to change the narrative, they just bank on nobody remembering. Nobody going back to find out that, wait a minute, you guys covered the myth back then. You guys gave us the definitive proof that the myth exists and labeled them as violent, sometimes very violent, oftentimes, well, let's continue hearing this coverage of this myth.
CNN's Sarah Gannon now takes us inside Antifa and shows us this group like you've never seen it before.
What? How are we about to go into the myth, y'all? Well, we're about to go into, I guess, the atmosphere and actually be able to see the wind, because it doesn't exist, guys. It doesn't exist. You should be able to see it. And so now they're going inside this myth that doesn't exist. Let's hear it. Let's hear from the myth.
It's 6 a.m. in Portland, Oregon, and we're headed to a bar with blacked out windows.
Blacked out windows, y'all. Now, wait a minute. Why are these individuals getting some type of bar and blacking out the windows and stuff like this? What's bringing all these people together? If it's not an organization, it's not a thing, it's just a bunch of people with ideas. And look at them.
They wanted to meet us really early in the morning because they're concerned about a lot of people being around.
Wait! Starting to sound more nefarious. Yeah, if they wanted us to meet them early in the morning, they were concerned about a lot of people being around. Why? It's kind of like Bigfoot. Always want you to see him in the forest. Make sure nobody's around and somehow slide behind a tree and disappear. You're sitting there going, now wait a minute, how did that big 9-foot creature go behind that skinny twig and he's gone now? Because he don't want to be seen. Yeah, he's up to stuff. Same thing with these people. So now here they are in a dimly lit room somehow. How did they all get the message to meet there? Look at all these people.
Meeting members of the Rose City Antifa, short for anti-fascist.
They went out and printed shirts. Yeah, they defined themselves. Rose City, what? Antifa. Now maybe somebody need to take this footage right here of this myth and show every single one of those people we saw in my montage trying to gaslight us and say, do you remember this? Are these people mythical? Are these not real people? So let's hear from these myths.
This group's main goal is to disrupt neo-Nazis and white supremacists, but also take on government and capitalism.
And also take on government and capitalism. Look at that myth covering its face right there. Isn't that odd? See, CNN probably wish they can go ahead and destroy this, but once it's out there, it's out there. But yet they're lying to us now. They're lying to us now because it's going, oh shoot, during that time, we didn't realize that they were being used by the Democrats and stuff like that. So now this is back when the myth was telling everybody, no, we're real.
Antifa is any group that's willing to stand up against fascists by any means necessary.
By any means necessary. And don't forget, fascist is anything we label it. There you go. Yeah, anything you disagree with. You don't like climate change, fascist. Yeah, you disagree with kids being transgender, to fascist. And also it gives them a license to just go ahead and attack anybody who disagrees with them. And look at them.
By any means necessary, they say, can mean outing a white nationalist at their work.
Sure. Outing a white nationalist that we declare as a white nationalist because they're not a part of us. Any white person that ain't a part of us is a white nationalist.
Or to their neighbors.
And look at this.
Or, as we've seen recently, violence.
Or, as we've seen recently, violence. Violence. But yet they're a myth. They don't exist according to Keith Ellison. According to the Democrats. Trump's making it up. Unbelievable. I mean, this is fascinating right here. That we got all this evidence. And remember, guys, this little segment is just a smidge of all the overwhelming evidence that we have that Antifa's real. And yet you got these dummies coming out trying to tell us they don't exist. But wait, it gets worse.
Fires, property damage, hand-to-hand combat.
Look at all of that. The CNN is straight up saying, yep, they're part of that. Violence, property damage, hand-to-hand combat, even though they can't fight. We've seen them get beat up all the time. So now let's finish hearing about this myth.
At protests across the country.
Explain to me the reasoning behind fighting. You have to make it so unpalatable to be doing white supremacist organizing that they no longer want to do that.
That's the goal. Well, look at that, guys. You see the myth explaining what they're up to and what they do? There you go. Make it so unpalatable for folks that are doing stuff that we don't like, stuff that believe in capitalism, stuff that actually allow our society to function properly, stuff that the Democrats want to destroy, anything like that. We want to make your life so miserable that we break you. That's why they must be broken. I need Ivan Drago right now. I must break you. I'm real patriot. I destroy all Antifa. If they die, they die. Doom, 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 doom. I need Clubber Lang right now. Hey, Clubber, what are your predictions about Antifa? Predictions? Bang. Yeah. No, I don't hate Antifa, but I do pity the fools. Because we about to drop the hammer on this Smith one.
And historically, that's what's worked. You have to put your body in the way and you have to make it speak in the language that they understand. And sometimes that is violence.
Oh, sometimes that is violence. Now imagine if patriots were saying that. Imagine if the Proud Boys were doing interviews like this time of day. Sometimes you got to just, get violent on them, you know what I'm saying? Make it so painful that they just, we don't see no footage of the Proud Boys saying stuff like this, or the Oath Keepers, or where are all the white supremacist groups out there that's doing the interviews like this and saying, oh yeah, we're here to just tear down the system. None, they're not out there. But remember, this is just a myth. So they have convinced a lot of impressionable, dumb young folks and recruited a lot of young folks who, for some reason, want to feel a part of something. We want to be a part of a movement. We want to be fighting the system. They caught them during a time where they're at that stage like we used to be back in the day, in the 80s, where you just made songs about it. Living on a prayer, take my hand, we'll make it, I swear. Stuff like that. Made you think of two young people just rebelling. Or, we are young. Doom, 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 doom. No one can tell us. Yeah, stuff like that. And back then we just sung songs. But now they're like, we're going to tear the whole system down because we're going to be a part of a movement. And we're dumb and impressionable. And there's folks that are powerful taking advantage of that and then put us in some organized terrorist organization.
There's no firm number on how many Antifa activists there are in the U.S. because there isn't any one organization. Most are local groups that recruit and communicate through social media.
Local groups. Now, understand, guys, just because you have local groups that have their own chapters who communicate, remember, guys, this is supposed to be through osmosis. You shouldn't have communications if it don't exist. You should have recruitment if it doesn't exist. I don't get it. So now, in all of these different local areas, you got recruitment, you got communication, you got all these pamphlets, you got all of that stuff. And then, of course, we all know, just because you got local groups doesn't mean you don't have an umbrella. If you got a whole bunch of local groups all over the place, what you have is a hive. You have some group or small group of people at the top that is financing this crap, supporting it. And then you got folks underneath that that's enabling it and allowing it. Probably a lot of prosecutors, DAs, judges, folks like that who ensure that the folks on the bottom doesn't go to jail when they do all of this stuff. And just because they're not all centralized doesn't mean anything. It just means they're spread out. They all got the same mentality. They all got the hive mind. They're all operating, the same way. So yeah, and yet they're using that to tell us that it doesn't exist. There's no actual leaders and stuff. So let's go ahead, because we got one last bit of proof that this myth exists.
But experts who track these organizations say their membership is growing in response to the rise of white national groups and the election of President Donald Trump.
Bam! That's what brought it out right there. But remember, how is their membership growing if it doesn't exist? How are you going to become a member of something that is not even an organization? It's an idea. So all of these people are members of an idea, according to the left. According to the fake news, according to Democrats, they're members of an idea. They're being recruited by an idea. And notice though, as soon as Trump got in, they just use all of these definitions and examples to justify their violence by saying, we're fighting against white supremacy, white nationalism. Now, how could you get mad at that? Now, who defines white supremacy? Who defines white nationalism? Them and the Democrat Party. Notice they got some similar messaging as the Democrats. Everybody's a white supremacist according to the Democrats. Everybody's a white nationalist if you don't vote for them. Don't forget, if you don't vote for them and you're of the Caucasian persuasion, you're a white supremacist and a white nationalist, which Antifa, once they get wind of that, what? Now we got the right to do anything. Anything. So now, that's odd. Now we're starting to maybe make the connection of why maybe the Democrat Party is not putting their foot down on Antifa. They shouldn't even want to get involved with that. They should be going, that ain't got nothing to do with it. Hey, we got bigger and better things to focus on. Let Trump run around putting out these fires that don't exist. Let him go around putting out these fires that don't exist. But instead, they take their time to come in and run interference for something that doesn't exist. Now you got to ask yourself, why are you doing that if it don't exist? What are you concerned about? See, you should be going, I don't care about no Antifa. That ain't got nothing to do with us. But it does. That's why they pop their heads up and go, leave them alone. They ain't do nothing. They don't even exist. You're trying to infringe upon their First Amendment rights. How can you prove that they're real? Well, there it is. They proved that they were real in this interview right here, as they describe what they are, who they are, what they've done. Let's continue.
Violence and property destruction led to more than 200 arrests in Washington, D.C.
Led to more than 200 arrests in Washington, D.C. Now you see this insurrection that the left forgot about? This is the original insurrection. This is the OG insurrection, way before January 6th, when Trump was inaugurated. And guess who was responsible for this insurrection?
An inauguration day. Prosecutors say they were wearing masks covered head to toe in black.
I thought it's not good to wear masks when you're conducting all of your evilness. Wearing masks from head to toe, dressed in black like raggedy ninjas. Now, isn't this crazy? Now, for some reason, these Democrats, though, want ICE to take off their mask, but they're okay with these folks rocking their mask. Now, isn't that strange? You see how ICE is, the Democrats are trying to give the disadvantage to ICE, and of course, continue to empower their raggedy Antifians that's out there doing their bidding. But wait, it gets even worse, because see, they're about to make a confession.
A tactic the Antifa call black bloc.
A tactic that Antifa, the myth, calls black bloc or something like that. Black bloc. So now, wait a minute, man. We are getting details straight from Antifa that doesn't exist.
People dress in black bloc for a few things. One,
Scott Crow has been leading anarchist and militant leftist groups for decades.
Decades. So let's hear from the professional who's going to tell us exactly why they do that.
so people put on the masks so that we can all become anonymous. And then therefore we are able to move more freely and do what we need to do.
And be more corrupt and evil. Be the anarchist that you are. Yeah, so people can't really identify you as individuals and stuff like that. Yeah. And the Democrats allow you guys to run around their cities and do this. Never question you. Let you show up at all kind of protests. As soon as you show up, dressed in all black and your face is covered, I know you're up to something. I know you're up to something. But yet they say ICE is up to something because they show up to arrest illegal immigrants with their faces covered because of folks like this in Antifa who want to dox them and then take them out. See, so now here you are, all of these young folks showing up dressed in black, faces covered. Why is that? Mr. That looks like he might be a Nazi. with that haircut. He says blonde hair and blue eyes. Look at this. He's a part of the Aryan nation. Hitler. So let's finish hearing from this true Nazi.
Whether it is illegal or not.
So some people will.
Whether it's illegal or not, the actions that these people show up to commit, requires them to dress in all black and cover their faces so that the action, whether it's illegal or not, can't be, pinned down.
We'll push back on that and say that the black bloc is to keep people from being identified and arrested when they break the law, when they commit crimes.
Damn right. It's a good way to avoid the ramifications of law enforcement.
Wow! That dude just straight blew my mind. He didn't even try that though. Well, actually, we don't believe in violence. He straight up, absolutely. That's exactly why we show up in helmets for some reason in the summertime. That's exactly why we show up with goggles and masks on. That's exactly why we cover our faces and no COVID's out there anymore. That's exactly why we do it. So we can avoid law enforcement, but don't worry about it. You don't need to avoid it under the Democrats though. You don't need that because they got you. They even got things set up to where if you get your butt arrested, they get you out somehow in these SO-ran cities since the power structure has been put in place for all of these radical DAs and radical judges and stuff. They know the game. They know as soon as one of y'all show up, we're going to give you a slap on the wrist, go back out there and continue doing what you're doing. But don't do nothing crazy, okay? All right, we award you bail. We don't give no records, all of that mess. So now we see that up until now, these folks have been operating like this in our cities and in our states, but only in Democrat cities and states. And, the structure that's set up allowed them to do it. And these folks back then was confessing. This is why we do it. You think we're running around dressed like this because we just code? No, we're trying to cover our faces so we can commit violence and won't have to be held accountable. But yet, remember guys, Antifa is just a myth.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing. This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got it.
You got it.
It's an idea. His FBI director said.
Well,
yep. And somebody is about to do something about Antifa. And his name is Donald J. Trump. That's who's about to do something about Antifa. And I'm glad. I want to see all of these folks rounded up, thrown in the slammer. And the ones that don't get thrown in the slammer, they got enough sense to get out while they can, maybe have to go and become a productive citizen in society. They're not going to know what to do. They're used to being professional anarchists. They're used to being professional agitators, protesters, destabilizers, all of that stuff. They're used to that. Then they're going to have to go and work at Starbucks, something like that. They're going to absolutely go crazy. They ain't going to know what to do. Just like the free Palestine folks too. Wondering, shoot, what do we do now? We're no longer running around able to say free Palestine. They're not going to know what to do. But I want to really see them all locked up. And more than that, I want to see them go up that chain to find out everybody that has power or money who was secretly channeling and moving money and trying to act like, we didn't even know what was going to Antifa. Oh, shoot. No, I want to see them brought down because these are the powerful people who supports destabilizing our country. They're more responsible for what's happening than the actual folks on the ground doing the bidding. Those folks on the ground are just the useful idiots. They couldn't do this without the support of more sophisticated entities or people with more resources. They couldn't do it. And so those are the real folks that need to be brought up on a big fat conspiracy charge or international domestic terrorism charges or something like that. So we're going to see what happens. But what we do know is right now what's happening is the left is frantic and trying to run cover for a domestic terrorist group. And you got to ask yourself why. So God bless you. God bless America. Thanks for kicking it with me on Sunday. And I'll be back tomorrow on Monday too to drop some more. So don't forget on your way out, hit that like button, share my videos. Don't forget to follow me on other platforms. Check out my alternative channel, not Kevin's Corner, but Stop and Think About It. You'll love it, man. I got all kind of uploaded clips that are shortened from these live streams and also from the past. So please subscribe to that channel. Link is below the videos, and hit that notification button, along with doing that to this channel as well. If you want to support my channel in other ways, you can do it. I got a Cash App and a PayPal link beneath each one of these videos. You can do that as well. That would definitely support me and help me out in many, many ways. So thanks for all the support in any way you feel fit. God bless you. God bless America. And be careful out there, guys. Make sure if you're out there walking around and you see some Antifians, get some footage so we can prove it. Put it on the line talking about, all right, I was out today grocery shopping, and you'll never believe it. I ran across a whole bunch of Antifians harassing an old lady who was getting her groceries. I couldn't believe it. First, my eyes, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was going, is that real? Is that real? I just heard it was a myth. Until I saw them with their black masks on and stuff, and their logos on their shirts saying Antifians and stuff like that. And I said, maybe I got enough evidence for the dumb Democrats now to believe it's real. Believe it's real. But nope, not according to them. No, it's not real. All right, God bless. See y'all next time in Kevin's Corner. Take care. Oh, yeah. No knowledge tonight. Up north, got our hands round y'all throats. Tear up the place, yeah. Take care.